And again, thanks to our speakers. And the first of them today is our good friend, Pete Furniss. Pete is a real scribe. He can really write the stuff. He's the one who's made the wonderful recreations of what the missing leaves might have looked like. Who's looked at the manuscript with a detail and attention which I can't bring to it, discovering all sorts of little things, keeping us on our toes, as well as doing wonderful calligraphy of his own and marshalling the other calligraphers and scribes of the area who contributed a lot to many aspects of this program. So Pete's going to share with us now his journey around the Hereford Gospels, its scribe and its script. Over to you, Pete. Pete, you should be live now. Your microphone, I believe, has been enabled.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I first became involved with the Hereford Gospels in 2018, I think it was, when I wanted to put a calligraphy workshop together using the script in the Gospel book. The librarian then, Rosemary, allowed me to actually look at it, which I was quite honoured. It was a real set of emotions. I can't quite describe the first time I opened the book, but after a couple of visits, I'd like to share with you my initial conceptions of the book. It's held in a 17th century binding with a chain attachment, which was produced for the chain library. There's some bits of string which were obviously part of a closure system to keep the book, the vellum from moving when the book was closed. The size of it is quite unusual. It's about just a bit bigger than A5, and it's a lot less than a lot of the high status gospel books. Lindisfarne is about A3, but it's bigger than some of the Irish pocket gospels, which are about A6. So an unusual size for that.
Pete, I'm very sorry to interrupt. I can't see your presentation. I don't know if anybody else can. Have you shared your screen?
Yeah.
Can anybody, David, can you see Pete's presentation?
I'm not seeing the presentation on the screen, so let's see if we can get that shared up.
Okay.
Pete's painting a wonderful word picture, but we'd like to see the pictures too, please.
What I could do is I've got it on my lap. I'm sorry, everybody. I can't seem to message Pete directly. So if you can't get that up, Pete, then I do have it on my screen as a backup. So we can share it that way if you prefer.
So I'm going to share, Jennifer, but so can you still not see it?
No. Have you gone to share window?
Yeah.
Have you? Yeah. Why don't I just share it on my screen, and I'll keep an eye on, and you can just let me know when I need to change the.
Right. Okay.
Let's do that, Jennifer. Thank you.
Yeah. Bear with me just 1 minute, please, while I've got this open on a different laptop. So. There we go. It is a PDF on my screen, so I apologise for the slight formatting issue there. And
Pete, we're back with you.
Okay.
Just let Jennifer know when you want to move your slides, please.
So we started off looking at the book itself, the binding, the attachments for keeping it closed, and its size, and then we need to move on to the script itself. This has been written by a competent scribe. I mean, he's got 260 sides of writing to do, and it all looks very similar right throughout the manuscript. So believe you me, he is a good scribe. Probably not in the top echelons like Adfrith of Lindisfarne, but a very, very good and competent sort of operational scribe. So he's using what we call a set minuscule script, and he's trying to probably emulate the higher status scripts used in Lindisfarne and Gospels like that. The parchment itself is sort of mediocre quality, possibly been made by a provincial manufacturer somewhere, definitely not in one of the main parchment houses like Winchester or Cambridge. There's also an inclusion of lection crosses, which you will see at the side here next to a big capital. And that does indicate that it's used as a service book as well, to be read from the altar. I did notice as I was sort of going through some stuff, I'd picked particular ones like the Lord's Prayer, Nunc Dimittis, and things like that to analyse the wording. And I did notice that the verb order tends to change to more of an Anglo-Saxon word order than the original Vulgate. And this probably reflects the sort of Celtic sort of origins of the Gospel book. Slide 3. We've got decorated incipit pages. We've got 3 remaining. Matthew, Mark, John. Luke is missing. It's obviously been removed by an art collector at some stage. So we can see the decoration is quite detailed. It follows a pattern of a lot of the higher status gospel books, but it's much more simple, but the decoration itself is very detailed. And I think Richard will look later at the actual pigments that are used in the manuscript itself. We've also got some legal documents on slide 4, which Peter McIntosh will be dealing with. And they place the manuscript in Hereford in the early part of the 11th century. It's a legal sort of land battle between a son and his mother, and it just shows the power of Anglo-Saxon women at the time. Moving to slide 4, slide 5, sorry. It's general history, possibly written during the busy production period of manuscripts in Mercia from 780 to 820. And it appears to have been written in a provincial monastery outside the mainstream of major calligraphy. Favoured period, early 9th century, related to a fairly peaceful period of Cromwell's reign, when he was trying to appease his neighbours with all the nasties that Offa had sort of inflicted on them. Cultural sort of aspects of the period, King Ethelbert's remains brought to Hereford, first Abbot Wilfrid recorded at Hereford, and the start of the Hereford Cathedral in 803. From the text and its context, there appears to be contact with Irish monks in the early 9th century. These could possibly have been travelling monks through Wales, going to the continent, backwards and forwards. As we've said, the legal documents at the back show it was in Hereford in the 11th century. So we move on to slide 6. We've had quite a lot of workshops, lectures at the early part of this. So I just wanted to really review quickly the materials and processes that are made into a manuscript. Vellum manufacture has not changed over 2,000 years, and it involves soaking in lime to release the hair, scraping the hair off, and then stretching the skin on a frame and using a curved blade called a linellum to put a flat surface on it with a little bit of nap that sort of catches the pen. And on slide 7, just flip over to the book binding. We're not sure how the book binding was done because in the 17th century the book was rebound. We have a little section here of how it might have been bound. It would normally be done by bifolia being collected together. Bifolia is a double sheet, which is folded like we've done on the side here to make gatherings. In our book, there are 6 bifolia used in each gathering normally, which creates 12 leaves. A couple of methods of binding in the period: the Coptic binding method, which gathers the stitches, the gatherings together using a chain stitch, or a more solid method which sews the gatherings onto taut leather straps, which are then threaded into wooden covers and pegged in position. So one of the major parts of the production of a manuscript from the scribe's point of view is pricking out his writing lines. With the insular fashion, the leaves are folded in half, and they're pricked down the gutter side and down the opening side. The lines are then ruled across with a hard point to give him his writing lines. I think he would probably have used a tool that he'd made himself, a straight edge with slots in it, associated with the positions of the points that he's going to prick out. And I think that's brought out by the fact that he's, if you look at the first set of prick marks in the manuscript, they're all little dots. After about quire 8 or gathering 8, there seem to be little sort of slots, which have obviously been done by the point of a quill knife. And I think by the virtuous fact that he cut a special template out to use, he's able to use the quill knife to use for his pricking out. Quill cutting, the quills normally come from the first 4 or 5 flight feathers of the wing on a goose. Modern calligraphers tend to cut them with a craft knife or a scalpel and cut away from themselves. I tend to use the old-fashioned craft knife and use a peeling action towards my thumb, which I find gives more control. The ink itself, oak gall ink, oak gall soaked in water to give tannic acid, and then iron sulfate turns the tannic acid black. It was a thing called green vitriol in the medieval period, and then the addition of gum arabic or other cherry gum or something like that will make it flow in the pen better. Moving on to slide 10, the animal skin size. Our monastery was obviously trying to get the best out of its limited resources. This is an animal skin of 18 months old, which is almost full size. If we consider spring calves, this animal is in its 2nd year of its life, around about September, October. And that was a good period for culling animals because it saved winter food. The cost of winter food for animals was even then quite high. And I think that the way they've sized this manuscript, it gets the best use. They're probably getting about 12 out of a reasonable animal skin, probably about 12 bifolia out of the skin, or probably, if it was a very good skin, even up to 14, which means there would probably be 6 or 7 animals used in the production. I think this consideration from the farmer's side, if he'd given young calves, he would have depleted his herd so much it wasn't practicable. He'd probably have to use 2 or 3 times the number of calves for this. So it works in the farmer's favour and the manuscript maker's favour. And the animal skins would have probably been donated to buy the farmer's way into heaven, and he'd make his money from the meat. Now we need to flip to the use of the broad edge quill. I'm sorry if I'm sort of teaching my granny to suck eggs here. The quill normally is used, it's a broad edge. If we move it sideways, it gives a thin line. If we move it in line with the nib itself, it gives a thick line. And you can see the direction of the strokes in figure 1 and figure 2. The high status manuscripts use figure 2, which is quite a difficult one to write because you've got to hold the pen at a flat angle, and it means moving your wrist around to the right quite a lot. And if you've got a lot of writing to do, it's difficult. Our scribe uses the angled pen in figure 1, which is very, very easy to write. The other things we'll come into contact with is set scripts and cursive scripts. The set script is normally written at an angle of pen up to 30 degrees. And because the pen sometimes digs in, this script is made so that all the letters are split into separate strokes. And you can see here, the pen is always pulled towards you. With a cursive script, the angle of the pen is steeper and it is easier to push it away from you, which allows you to do cursive scripts without actually lifting the pen off the page. This M is a typical example of it. So now we need to have a look at scripts that were around in Mercia during the 8th century, well, the 8th and early 9th century. The two at the top are typical examples of set minuscule scripts. And the one on the bottom left-hand corner is a pointed minuscule. It's from a document that's a bit later than our manuscript, but this script is a cursive script which was in use right throughout the sort of 8th century. And the other one is our favourite flat script, what we now call insular half uncial, which this is from the St. Chad Gospels, and it's using that typical flat sort of pen angle. We've had a look at our Scribe's set minuscule a minute ago when we first started getting our original sort of ideas together. So he's picked this angled pen, sorry, so he can write a bit faster. And I also wonder if he's picked it because it's easier for him to write such a vast amount of work using this method of writing to stay within his own skill levels. And as a calligrapher myself, I can understand the way he's thinking on this one. So there's literal. I think what we need to look at the top line, the second word in, parate. If you look at the second letter, it's a letter A, and it's an OC-shaped letter A. You need to bear that one in mind when we look a bit further on. These are some particular letters that our scribe uses. He's moved away from the OC-shaped A, so he's using a flat-topped A, which is normally done in 3 strokes of his pen. And this defines the script itself. He's a bit ahead of his time because it was that type of letter was originally used in the Cathach, which was brought across in the late 500s. And then it seemed to fall out of favour for the OC-shaped one, so he's bringing it back a bit. The only other ones I've been able to find, we'll look at in a moment. The serifs on the letters, triangular serifs or wedge-shaped serifs on B and L. The other letters, they tend to vary from hook-based serifs to the diamond ones that we've looked at. Letter D, he actually uses an uncial letter D, which is a separate script. He's imported this from uncial scripts. And there are various uses of his stroke. Some's a curly one, some's a flat angled one, some's a flat one on its side. And I think he varies this depending on how bored or interested he is. He probably sort of uses it just to sort of spice his life up a bit. Oh, sorry, I've lost. I'm sorry about this. I've lost mine. Have you still got yours, Jennifer?
Yeah, mine's still being shared. So I think you are talking about the stem of the letter F. So if you go back into the main Teams window, you should, I think, be able to see it.
Yeah. Okay. Right, we've come down to the letter F, and this one it's written sometimes in a set script and sometimes in a cursive script, and I wonder if he's slipping back subconsciously into a cursive method of writing this because his normal sort of everyday life he's used to writing in a cursive style, and the letter S is similar. G is a flat top letter used throughout. Letter O really is a round letter which defines the sort of shapes of main letters. Letter P, the bowl is done in two parts, and the bottom stroke doesn't actually reach the stem. Letter Q has a flat top like the A. R again is another unsealed letter that is imported. Again, he's sort of borrowing from other scripts. He also uses a curly S from time to time, particularly when there's a double S. So he uses the long S and the curly S next to each other. And the bottom one is my favourite letter, the letter Y, which is done in 3 strokes. I think this is a lovely letter. We need just to have a quick look at the letter A. You can see on the right-hand side, it's done in a sort of set of 3 strokes. He does actually use the old C-shaped letter at the start of some sentences, so he's sort of still keeping his eyes wide open as to what he's going to use. I have found the flat-topped A in one or 2 manuscripts in St. Gallen Library, and these are shown here on the right-hand side. But that flat-topped letter is very, very unusual to use in this period. It mainly comes back into its own in Welsh manuscripts of the later sort of 9th century. I'm looking at some abbreviations here. There's a nice little one with an A diphthong, and it's an E with a little loop underneath it, known as E cordata. The et ligature crops up right the way through the manuscript. It's used to start sentences. It's used within words. Autem sign for H with for the word autem is a letter H with a little loop on the top. Division sign for est. Pro has a bowl of the P which crosses the stem. An interesting one, probably with a Welsh origin, a double D contraction for David. A line over the top, a macron or a diacritical mark over the top, normally indicates letters missing. Typical, we've got Jesus, IHS, Dixit, DX. And we've got a nice one here underneath, hoc est Deus meus, Deus meus. This is my God, my God. I also wanted to bring your attention to the punctuation. He often uses 3-point punctuation, which is at the bottom, in the centre, the middle line before factum. Moving to slide 7, some capitals. We can see the flat topped A. He also goes back to use the old C-shaped A. Most of the others are just enlarged minuscule letters. He also uses it, imports a letter N from the unsealed script as well. And he starts to decorate his P on the bottom line. That keeps cropping up from time to time. So now we've got a vague idea of how our scribe's operating and how a manuscript's put together. I think we need to look at some of the actual pages themselves. This one from Matthew, the first page, it's the generation of Christ, and there are quite a few interesting abbreviations here. There's an interesting use of the word, the letter Z. Boaz on the 8th line is spelled booze, but it's got a little Z, and Z is quite an unusual letter to come across in the gospel book. So I've just highlighted some of the abbreviations. As we move on, on slide 19, this is between folio 1 and 2, and there's a page been torn out, but it's been cut out here, and it's probably the Cairo page announcing Christ's birth. I did a reconstruction of that. It's probably been collected by an art collector. I did a reconstruction of that, which has got the Cairo page on the front of and the 200 words of missing script on the verso side, on the back. Slide 21. This is an interesting one because near the top, from the fourth line down, you can see the letter P has been replaced with a letter B. And this does indicate that being baptized, this does indicate a particular sort of Welsh influence on this. And I begin to wonder if our scribe is a Welsh speaker as well as being a good calligrapher. Here we have the Beatitudes page. Now this bit of decoration with the interlinked bees is about the only bit of decoration or artistic design he uses throughout the whole of the manuscript. The other ones are basically sort of diminuendo, which we'll look at in a minute, which is using a large letter to reduce it into the script. Again, we've got one or two sort of word endings. The particular one, about 13th line up, you can see a 3-point punctuation, a 2-point punctuation, a 3-point punctuation, and what looks like 2 commas above each other. The word there is hominibus, and that 2 commas is used as an ending for the Latin ending bus. Folios 8, 7, and 5 are bound in the wrong order in the 17th century. If you read them in the correct order, they're completely continuous, so there's nothing actually missing there. So it's just an error in the original 17th century binding. Slide 24. I've just highlighted in the middle, right in the middle of the page there on the left-hand side, a single point punctuation, which is quite unusual, really. It doesn't happen very often. On the other page, it shows the prick marks on folio 35 quite well. And I originally thought that I had seen in this bottom corner the hard point ruling for the writing lines. Didn't show up on the photograph. And when I looked at it again, I couldn't find them, so it was probably wishful thinking on my part, or I just couldn't understand why I couldn't see them again. I think Richard has found some ruling lines, but I couldn't find any others in the manuscript themselves. So my opinion is that if they were done, they were done very faintly, and the vellum was recovered since then. Or if they weren't done, our scribe was using a flat edge underneath his writing just to sort of keep his lines. For slide 25, we've got, I talked about diminuendo earlier on, and this is in the middle of the section. You've got an X symbol followed by Y and an O. And this is a typical Irish method of introducing new paragraphs or verses. This is where the disciples are going out singing before they go up to Gethsemane. And it's an ET shape, which gives the scribe a real sort of flair with his pen. You can really see how he's using his pen there. And then the next letters are reduced in size till we get to the text size. So typical sort of Irish influence from here. Between 59 and 60 folios, there's a complete bifolium missing. It's in the centre of a gathering, so it's got to be a bifolium. And I think the Lichfield Gospels or Chad Gospels is treated similarly. Matthew, Mark, and John are treated the same, but Luke has got additional pages in it, additional designs. And they include a cross-carpet page, a 4 evangelist page, the Luke incipit, and approximately 200 words of missing script. And I think that our scribe has possibly seen the Chad Gospels and is trying to do the same thing. moving on again. Folio 61 on the left here, the Magnificat. You can get the impression that our monastery and our scribe is trying to use all the resources he has available to him. And in this quite important page, there's a hole in the middle, but he writes around it quite efficiently. You can still read everything going on around it. So he's making the best use of his materials. There's another 3-point punctuation, which is quite a faint one on the right-hand page, with a couple of 3 little dots. On folio 65 on the left, we can see quite clearly the pricking on the opening margin, and it doesn't quite show up on the photograph, but you can definitely see good remnants of the pricking down the gutter edge. Another use of the crosses in the lection crosses, indicating readings in the margins. I originally thought they were put on after the manuscript was produced, but we'll look at that later. There's also this decorated P, which keeps cropping up from time to time. On slide 29, there's a letter, what looks to be a letter S, used next to the marginal cross. And it has been proposed that this is probably to indicate that a senior member of the monastery would read this one. Slide 30. It's quite unusual here, but we look to be seeing there's a difference in the dark script at the top and the lighter script at the bottom. And I wonder if this is a change of ink. It is very unusual to find things in the Gospels where you can see whether our scribe has changed his pen, sharpened his pen, or changed his ink. It's very unusual. He's such a good scribe who understands the vellum he's writing on that you don't see things like this. And I just wonder if it's a drastic change of ink that he's used and he can't sort of cover it up. So on that 93, this is just a picture of what I found on the palimpsest page. You can see sort of shadow lines at the top and the bottom of the page. I did try with Michelle Brown at one stage to do some ultraviolet sort of work on it, and we were grovelling under a dark table with a gospel book on its purple cover on the floor, but we didn't get any success. And Richard will talk about that later on. Slide 32. We've got an interesting use of an uncial N here right at the bottom, next to linked with a U. And there are quite a lot of ET ligatures on this page as well. I picked this one because it seems to be a different quality of vellum. It's a singleton. It's just sewn into the gospel book as a single page, not as a bifolium. And I wonder if this is also a palimpsest, but again, more from Richard on that one. Slide 33. At the bottom of the page, the writing actually drops below the prick marks. And I'm wondering if the scribe is getting tired or if he's losing concentration near the bottom of this page. But I think it just shows that he's a human being. And again, use of the decorated P here again. This is one that I've discovered recently, and it does trouble me now. My original idea was that the lection crosses were put on after the manuscript was written. If you look where I've marked, just before the IHS, there's a lection cross, which throws the whole idea of the crosses being put on after the manuscript was written into dispute now. I'm wondering if they were put on as the scribe was writing his manuscript, not necessarily by the scribe, because some of them you can see are quite neat with little diamond-shaped serif endings, and others are quite blobby or without an ending at all. So again, that's one up for discussion in the future, I think. Slide 35, couple of damaged pages. It was practiced in the Victorian period to use a reagent to bring the writing out better, to make it crisper and clearer. I think what it's done here is reacted with the tannic acid in the ink, and the tannic acid is burnt into the page. So it's a good job we've got better methods that Richard is using now. I come back to this problem. Could our scribe have done the incipit decorated pages? I'm not sure. The only evidence we've got of his decoration is the fairly naive design of his interlinked B's and on the Beatitudes page. His use of diminuendo in certain places to demonstrate his ability with a pen, and also the P which keeps cropping up, the decorated P. But there's not a lot of other ideas in the text that he could be a very good artist as well. And I wonder, because of the detail within the art, and some of the swirls in the sort of pixels here are absolutely amazing. The detail in the block text again, and the bold of the letter B here is very detailed. And I'm wondering if he's had somebody else to do that for him. But I'll leave you to decide on that one. There are some additions to the manuscript. Top left shows something been sewn in, and the others show iron stain watermarks. I'm wondering if something's been sort of kept in the manuscript. It was quite often practiced when you were doing agreements, charters, swearing oaths to exchange knives, and often knife blades were stored in religious books to give those agreements some form of sanctity. I think we now need to sort of leave our scribe with his ending colophons. The Irish method started up with separate colophons, and then the Irish scripts decided they'd put the colophons into the last line of text. Here, he's actually using the different colophons in each line of text, and he's using the length of the colophon to justify his line endings to get them all ending in the same stage. So again, I think we've got the sort of Irish sort of influence here. And I think I've got to know our scribe at this stage. Very good scribe. He's using sort of all his skills to sort of emulate the high status gospel books, but he understands the script he's using. He understands the vellum he's working with. So every tribute to him, I can't sort of thank him enough for producing a wonderful manuscript. So there we are. Thanks to the people who made this possible. So thank you for bearing with me. I'm sorry it went a bit haywire in places, but I hope you've gained some ideas of how the manuscript was made and how our scribe dealt with such a lot of writing. Thank you very much.